Hi, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Patrick Zabal. I'm the Partner Alliance Officer for Arizona Central Credit Union. We'll be doing a presentation on money management. I sort of decided to rename it Convenience Banking just because of the times that we're in with what we're facing. A lot of this information is going to be really great for reducing unnecessary trips to your financial institution. It's also going to help you reduce unnecessary trips to paying any of your bills, whether it's in person or mailing them off and things like that. I did want to let you know we do have our two branches here in town. We've got our West Street branch there next to Coconino High School, and then we have our Woodlands Village Boulevard branch. And let's get started here. So on the overview, we will be talking, sorry, still getting used to how this works with the recording. What is eBranch online banking? This some of this information is tailored specifically to the credit union, but all you have to do is just take the same information and apply it to your bank or credit union, and it's still valid information. It's just we had this already prepared, and I wanted to get it out to you as soon as possible, since I think this is the most beneficial course from the ones that we're doing in regards to what's going on with the coronavirus and how it's affecting our lives. So we'll also talk about mobile banking, managing your money, really a lot of just convenience tools. We'll cover shared branching, and I'll cover a couple of things as to why that's not currently available. So we'll definitely get into that. And then financial health checks, using tools. It could be a third party like Mint, or on the credit union's website, we have a program called MX, which is an aggregator that can take all of your financial accounts and put them all on one screen, so you can get your entire financial picture all on one screen. And so I'll show you how you can either call or search your financial institution's website to try and find hopefully a similar tool. I'm at a couple of different financial institutions, one bank and one credit union, and then credit cards at different places. So uh, just speaking from personal experience on browsing their website, I can kind of show you what to look for. And then I'll give you our contacts at the end of this presentation on the last slide there as well. So signing up for, we call it eBranch, but online banking. Right now, I feel like this is a lot more important because it gives you access to pay bills online, whether that's through a bill pay system or online transfers. So let me show this whole slide here so we can cover it. So the online bill pay system is essentially a checkbook, an online checkbook, okay? When you first create a payee, or who you're going to pay, usually you'll need your account number, their address for their billing address, their phone number, and their name. If it's a larger bill that's recognized in the system, it'll usually say that it's going to take between 1 and 3 business days to get to them. If it says that, they're creating an electronic check and sending that to them through ACH, or what's known as automated clearinghouse. It's an electronic check, essentially. So it gets there a lot faster. Now, if it says 5 to 7 business days, that means that they're going to create a cashier's check and they're going to mail it directly to the bill. And a lot of times, bills like rent to private landlords, or rent to smaller landlord companies, for instance, like rent companies, those will be mailed. But the good thing is that Usually bill pay is free. I know of a couple of places where it's not, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But I don't think I've seen anywhere in Flagstaff that charges for it. So, but yeah, I just want to warn you because it's always good to check to make sure. But yeah, usually bill pay is free, which saves you a lot of money because cashier's checks can be anywhere from $2 all the way up to, I believe banks charge 10 to 15. I've definitely seen 10, and I've also seen 15. Since they're more official than money orders, they cannot remain blank. So there's no risk of on your payee's end of somebody like using whiteout or something, which is the risk of money orders. And then of course it's much safer than checks, which are start out as blank checks and you kind of fill them out manually. So that's kind of the different safety levels, right? You've got your checks at the bottom, then you've got money orders, and then you've got cashier's checks at the top. So what the reason why I wanted to explain that is you can pay a lot of different things with bill pay. I've paid family members, I've paid landlords, and essentially what I'm doing is I'm getting the landlord's information, like their name or their company name, and then I'm getting their address, and then I am essentially going to bill pay, plugging in that information and mailing them a check for free, a cashier's check. So they feel safe because they're receiving the safest method to pay your rent. And I feel great because I don't have to write out a check. I don't have to keep a stock of checks, like a checkbook on hand. And I reduce the trips to either the mailbox or the post office. So it's great for saving time and saving money as well. And then another thing you can use is, of course, credit cards, auto loans, mortgages. Generally, all of those that I just mentioned will be electronic. So they'll take 1 to 3 business days, depending on how your specific bill pay system works and kind of how fast it is, I guess. So this also helps to avoid late fees because what you can do is you can set up automated bill pay. You only want to do this on bills that are not going to change, such as if you're on a budget plan for utilities where you always know what your utility cost is going to be, then that's good. If you're on a standard utility plan, then that's going to change month to month. So you don't want to do automatic. You want to do manual bill pay for that. And it can also be good for things like credit cards, where yes, the minimum payment is always going to change. But as we've discussed before, unless you're trying to build up your savings account, and paying the minimum forever on a credit card could be a 7 to 11 year game of trying to get that credit card paid off, right? So right now I did switch to manual bill pay on my cards, and I'm doing the minimums to build up my savings account. And then in about 3 months, I'm going to switch the bill pays to automatic, and I'm going to pay a set amount that I'm comfortable with every month, no matter what the minimum is. I'm going to pay that set amount. That way I know that card is going to be paid off eventually, instead of just being in this race for time where you could be making minimums for, again, 7 to 11 years. So another thing you could use bill pay for is to avoid having to pay wire transfer fees. And that's a big one because domestic wire transfers are when you want to send money electronically directly to someone, and it's a one-way ticket. You can't reverse a wire transfer, right? Which bill pay is a bit different in that respect. So if you want to pay someone in New York, let's say $10,000 for, I'm not sure, like a tractor or something. I don't know what you would be doing a wire for. Or maybe you want to send money to family, but You don't want to send a personal check in the mail, or you don't want, you're worried about your account number being out there because your personal checks have your account number on them. And of course, you don't want to send cash in the mail. So you can do bill pay. Your account number is not compromised. It's not going to be on there. And all you need is your family member's name, or the person you're paying's name, their address, their phone number, and that's it. You technically don't need their account number, because what they can do is they can take it to their bank and deposit it. Now, if they really want to opt for the wire transfer, ask them this. Let them know, by the way, if we do a wire transfer, they're going to charge me $20 to $40. That's the standard. Credit unions are generally in like the 20 to 25 range. Banks are in the 40 to, well, it depends, but 30 to 50 I've seen on the fees. So let them know, how about this? Give me your account number, which you would have done anyway for this wire transfer, right? Your name, your address, your phone number. Or sorry, your branch's address, where you bank at, where you want this check deposited, and your phone number. So in the bill pay system, in the account number field, you type in their account number, their name, their branch's address, right? Or the headquarters to their bank, either way. I usually try to do the branch's address, because those are the people that know that person. And that's called banking by mail. We do that a lot at both branches, at the West Street branch and at the Woodlands Village. We get checks in the mail. As long as they have name, account number, we're good. We know where to deposit it. It does not have to be signed, because we use a stamp that says for deposit only, and we stamp it and deposit it into the account. So you can do that. And what that does is it removes another headache, which is the person you're paying having a headache, right? So you're using a free system to send a cashier's check. You're not giving away your account number, and you're paying them directly into their account, because the bank's just going to get that in their mail drop box every morning, and they're going to process that deposit. So you're saving tons of money there. On average, you're saving about $25, I would say, if you're talking about shipping, postage, trips to the branch, the person you're paying's trip to the branch, and the wire fee that you're avoiding. And all of this is for free. So bill pay is great. I'd err on the side of manual, because I guess I'm kind of old school, but automatic is great for things that don't change. So definitely take a look at your online banking's bill pay. When it comes to security, we use what's called two-factor authentication, which is where when you log in, you need to send yourself a code to your cell phone. And when you plug in that code, that's how you get into your online banking. Once the system recognizes your device, you can set to recognize. So then if you go to the library and use their computer, it's going to ask for that code again, right? And you don't want to save that device. It'll give you an option if you want to save the device as your personal home device. So I absolutely recommend banking somewhere that uses two-factor authentication for their online banking. If they're not using it, to be honest, either don't use their online banking or just switch away from that bank or credit union if they're not using it. Because in my personal experience, accounts that I had two-factor authentication on have never been hacked in my whole life. Ones that I didn't have it have been hacked. So, my Yahoo account is long gone, like as of, I don't even know, 10, 11, 12 years ago, and I can't recover it. My MSN and AOL, stuff like that was hacked long ago, and I never recovered it. So I lost whatever was stored on there in the email. And but I've switched to only using accounts that I can either do the two-factor authentication with a mobile app where it generates a code, or like a physical device, or the texting to the cell phone. And I've none of my extended family has ever been hacked on a two-factor. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just really difficult. You know, they would need your phone, they would need your password, they would need a lot of things to kind of line up. Yeah, that's why it's so secure. And you also, when you have your online banking, you get access to e-statements. They're faster, they're simpler, they're more secure, and they're free. And a lot of times they'll save you fees. So for instance, at Arizona Central Credit Union, we have a $2 per month statement fee for mailed statements, and that's okay if you prefer mailed statements. But if you sign up for the electronic statements, it waives that fee. So then there's no fee. And so another thing is, statements can get really expensive to go into, like if you need 2 years of statements or something. But with electronic statements, you get access to all of your statements from before. I think the statute of limitations is like 7 years or something like that. So you get about that many years if you've been with your financial institution that long. And you can print them out from home, or you can print them out at FedEx, or a printing place. So it's a lot cheaper. Home is obviously cheapest, followed by probably FedEx or Staples, Office Max, followed by going into a branch and getting the printouts. So that's another good reason to use e-statements. And then it's just easier to keep track of everything because they're one click away. And again, if you have the two-factor authentication, then you can have more peace of mind there, because it's very tough to crack that. So, and then of course you can manage your account. You can retrieve your account activity at any time, and that this isn't statements, but the actual activity, ongoing activity. So you can view your balance, print copies of clear checks. That's another really good one. If you were to call a bank, for instance, and let them know, hey, I want to know, I want to get copies of these cleared checks because there's an issue maybe with the courts or something, where like a company wants copies of these cleared checks to make sure of things. I mean, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg to get that. And you could just get that nearly for free using this online banking, right? It's just, I guess, the cost of paper and printer ink, I guess, which is going to be nothing, like less than 0.1% of what you would pay. Because I believe the fees are anywhere from $15 to $40 per check, depending on where you're at, because it requires research on the bank's end, and that's why the banks charge so much. Credit unions charge a little bit less, well, a lot less in this respect, but and then of course you can place stop payments and do a lot more with the account management. We've also got mobile remote deposit capture. So it's going to be using your cell phone to take a picture of a check. You do have to sign the check a certain way. So they want to make sure that you're not accidentally depositing it twice. And then of course we have to protect ourselves. And we want to make sure people aren't, depositing things twice over, right? Because what you're doing is you get a check, on the back you put for mobile deposit only, AZ Central CU, or, Arizona Central Credit Union. Or if you're with Wells Fargo, they have this too on their mobile app. For mobile deposit only, Wells Fargo, and then you can put your account number, I believe is what Wells Fargo asked for. For us, it's just for mobile deposit only, AZ Central CU, or however you want to write it, ACCU. And then you just sign your name, and it'll prompt you on there to take a picture of the front, and then if it's a bit blurry, it'll kind of warn you, or you can look at it and say, okay, if somebody on the back end is trying to read this, for the number and the letters, that's what matters most. What is written in, the signature, the number, the date, those are the things that matter, right? If it looks blurry, then you just recapture. You hit the retake button, and you can capture it again. Then it'll ask you to flip it over, take a picture of the back. And the limits on this start out at $500. But what you can do, if you plan on using mobile remote a lot for larger checks, give us a call, give our solution center a call, and that way we can try and get your limits raised. You can't use mobile deposit until you've been a member for at least 90 days. It's just something that we have to do to protect ourselves, because there are some issues with mobile deposit for security on our end. So we do wait until the 90-day period to offer it. But once you're with us for 90 days, if you want to raise your limit, just give us a call, and then just let them know, hey, with the coronavirus going on, I'm trying to limit trips to the branch. Can I get my limit raised to this amount, whatever you think you'll need? And they can help you out with that. On the business end, I know some of you are business members with us. The limits are kind of based on your business, like your flow. So again, just give us a call, and we can talk about it, because every business is different. So let's move on to the transferring side here. So money transfer. This is an interesting one that actually has more uses than people think. You can move money between your own accounts. This is only if you have those accounts at that financial institution. So for instance, if you have a checking and maybe 2 savings accounts at Arizona Central Credit Union, you can move money between the 3 accounts. If you have your checking account somewhere else, and then maybe you have a savings account with us, you can move money to the other financial institution. You just have to click on the move money to external institution button, and then you have to prove that you're the owner. So you're usually going to have to upload like a statement or some sort of proof of ownership of that account, maybe a voided check or something like that. And then you can be verified to move money between your own accounts for free. Now, if you have a loan, maybe a credit card, an auto loan, and then some deposit accounts all at the same place, you can use the money transfer system to actually move money from your account to make a payment. You can do manual payment by moving money from, let's say, checking to auto loan, and then you type in the dollar amount for what your payment is, and that's a one-time. Or you can set up recurring transfers, which count as payments, recurring payments, because you don't want to use bill pay if everything is at one institution, because it'd be sort of like mailing a check to ourselves kind of thing. So you want to use the money transfer for that. And then loan payments. So that's what we talked about with the money transfer. And then of course you can opt in to text and email, or email alerts, and you can kind of do like a combination of text and email. I prefer the text ones myself. Sometimes my email doesn't sync and I don't get it, whereas texts are just always working. So, and you can change the alerts, so you can set limits like a low balance warning. I want my account to text me if I go below 100, if I go below 200, and then I want it to text me again if I go below 50. And you can set those alerts, and you can tier them like that. There's a lot of, you can actually spend a lot of time going through that alert thing because it's very customizable. And that goes for most institutions, of course. And then you do have access to free budgeting software. This is usually the case at most places that I've seen. Ours is the MX program. It helps you track expenses, budget, save, and manage money. It's very nice because it's extremely similar to Mint, if you've ever used that, the third party account aggregator, as I like to call it. It can get all of your financial accounts, such as, let's say you have a credit card with Capital One, the credit union, Wells Fargo, Chase. Maybe you have an auto loan at a different credit union, and then you've got your mortgage with, a big mortgage lender like uh, SunTrust or Wells Fargo, and then you have maybe you have like a personal loan somewhere else. So instead of logging into 7 usernames and passwords right every day, trying to check up on these things, you can actually put them all into one screen. And to start, you do have to know your username and password, and then it's usually going to do whatever two-factor authentication that company uses. So maybe it's a Capital One credit card, and you put in your username and password for Capital One, and then you finish the authentication, and it'll send you that code. Once you do that, it'll link that account into the software so that all of your accounts are on one screen. You can, as if they were all with one institution. And I know not everybody's financial picture looks like this, but it is pretty common these days because a lot of times, how do we buy a car? Unless you're going straight to the credit union and letting them know, hey, I'm looking for a car, and then I'm going to go to the dealership, then that's fine. That means your loan will be in one place. But if you go straight to the dealership, who knows where your loan might end up, right? So that's what happens. That's how I like to call it spidering, right? Where our financial picture ends up this spider web of different places. So it's nice to just have everything in one easy to check place. And then, of course, if you have your checking accounts at the same place where the budgeting software exists, it's very easy to create a budget using that because it's going to lump your payments into categories for you so that a lot of the manual work is automatically done without you doing anything. And you can play with it. You can kind of change the categories to suit your liking. But it's very nice, especially if you like to do your budgets by paper. You just do it on the budgeting software first, let it lump it into categories, and then take it all down on your on your piece of paper, right? Cutting out hours of work right there because it's going through your history for you. And you can set up forecasts. Like, what? I spent $1,000 in just entertainment stuff, movies, subscriptions. Next month, I kind of want to spend like 200 or less, maybe 300 or less, or even less than that on entertainment. So now I have the tools to know how to do that, right? So a lot of this kind of ties into our first presentation that we did on the budgeting. So for mobile banking, um, you get access to from any web-enabled smartphone. So that could be the Windows, the Android, the Apple, and you can of course check your balances, transaction history, transferring funds, depositing checks with the mobile deposit. You can use the bill pay system on that as well. You can also locate the nearest branch or ATM, and that it's not doesn't necessarily have to be our ATMs. It'll show you kind of like the shared ATMs that we use as well. So and then of course you can check current rates on things. it's very similar to the web based. So the web one is our eBranch online banking when you're on a computer, or if you're on a cell phone and you open a browser and you type in azcentralcu.org. And that's the web-based one. The mobile app is, of course, in the store that you can get for free. So it's very similar. There are some limitations, of course, just like with any mobile app. So if you don't see what you're looking for on there, then switch over to the website version. And it says, yeah, to enroll, you just have to have a online banking with our web-based, and then you get the mobile application and go directly to the mobile app to log in using the same username and password. You can also set it for, I don't want to say pop-up notifications, but where you don't actually have to open the app to get to your balance. It's like an easy balance type function. You can set that. You can also set the biometric. So to unlock your phone, if you prefer to use a fingerprint, then you can set it so that the app opens with a fingerprint instead of typing in your password. I know for myself, I I'm going to sound really old school here, but I kind of like the phones when they had the keyboard. It's just easier for me. And so I don't really like to type in a ton of stuff on a cell phone. So I usually use just the fingerprint one, since that's what I use to get into my phone anyway. Because I have I fat finger everything. So some of the issues with being 6'4", right? So this is the mobile app on the Google Play, Kindle Fire, and the App Store there. And then we've got text message banking. So with this one, you can just send texts. You sign up by sending BAL, for instance, to 454545, and then it'll set you up on there. You can also sign up for SMS on the website. When you log in, there's an option there. And these are the different commands that you can use, and you can always type in help to try and get a list of all the commands. I'm going to take a sip of water here. So the help button is always nice because, I mean, to be honest, I only use BAL and BAL all tends to be what I use. Sometimes I have used the last. It's nice to just instantly get the last 5 transactions that I've done instead of logging into something. So, and all of this is optional, of course, and free. So, all right. So shared branching. Normally, this is a really great system. Right now, it is down. I don't quote me on this, but I believe we're the only shared branching credit union in Flagstaff. So what this is hurting is non-Arizona Central Credit Union members, like members from other credit unions that maybe they moved to Flagstaff, but they didn't switch their accounts. They're not able to use shared branching at our branch right now because our lobbies are currently closed, except for on appointment basis. Our drive-through is open, but we can't do shared branching through the drive-through. So in this case, we had to hunker down and make sure we're helping our members. But our ATM is open, and it is open for shared branching members as well. So they can use the ATM and everything like that. But what's nice about this system, once life gets back to normal pretty soon here, or as normal as it can be, right? What's really nice about this is the main reason why somebody would not switch to a credit union is because they think there's not enough branches. So they see someone like a Bank of America and they think, all right, well, I can access that anywhere in the country, basically. And it's going to be the only way to go. But with our shared branching system, we're actually connected to 45,000 ATMs in the country and over 5,000 branches. And we're in every state except for some of the more rural communities. So I believe we're not in Montana. We are in Hawaii and Alaska, and then we're in basically every other state you can think of. And so no matter where you're traveling to, you can go into the shared branch and you can see the tellers in person with no fees. You can deposit, withdraw, do transfers, deposit checks, things like that. And most everything that you would need to do, you can do. Or you can use their ATM. You do have to check that they're part of this system, but it's also on our mobile app, but there's the website co.opcreditunions.org. So it's coopcreditunions.org basically /locator. And it's a huge network. It rivals the big banks in a lot of ways. There's more access than a lot of the big banks. So I just wanted to let you know about that. And you can take control of your finances using the MX program that we talked about. And it helps you automatically categorize and track your expenses, allowing you to have your entire picture of spending, loans, savings, everything. All right, so we're going to watch a quick video here. I don't know that the sound is going to work here. Maybe I should have tested this before, but let me turn this down. All right, I'm going to turn this down in case that's way too loud. This is our MX program. All right. So I know that some of that went by kind of quickly, but if you've ever used Mint, you would have probably recognized some of those screens. What's really nice is it showed you that you can create payoff plans, which is extremely intricate. I mean, you can spend as little or as much time as you want on this thing, right? You can create very specific 3-year payoff plans. Like I want to pay off 20,000 in credit card debt in 3 years, and it'll tell you exactly how you can do that. Especially if your financial institution, if you have your checking account and your savings account I guess checking is the most important. If you have your checking account there, that's kind of where you want to use their budgeting software. Or if not, use Mint, which is free. And it is a third party, but to me, it's a trusted third party. I've been using it for a long time. I did switch to MX since it's in my where my accounts are and everything. But it's very nice because you can, yeah, you can create these real specific payment plans. Or, you know what, I have a 30-year mortgage. Yeah, I don't really want to take 30 years to pay this thing off, right? Um, let's create a plan where I can pay this off in 25 or 20, and then you can play with the numbers and get that done, um, pretty much to the T, if you follow the budgeting plan that you create. So that's kind of what it looks like. You don't have to use the bubbles. Not everyone likes the bubble method, but that's just one option. You can also use like bars or graph. It's very customizable. There's a lot that you can do with it. So let's move on here. Let's see if it'll even let me. All right, so this is another screen showing kind of what it's going to look like, and it'll be very similar to whichever one you end up using, since a lot of these are pretty similar. Transactions, your accounts. This is the accounts tab is where you import all of your accounts. Spending, budgets that you've created or that it creates for you at the start. Trends, kind of how you're trending on different spending categories. Debts, you can import your debts to create very awesome payoff scenarios. Your net worth, that's a really interesting one. I'm 30 years old, so I usually don't click on that because I'm sure I'm sure I'm in the negative due to my student loans and stuff like that, right? Or maybe I should just not import my student loans and I'd be good to go, right? So no, but I was just kidding. The net worth one's is pretty interesting actually, because if you've imported your 401k, maybe your IRA, like your retirement account, you're importing any CDs you might have, your savings, and then of course credit card, auto loan, mortgage, personal loan, and all of that. You're importing everything. When you hit that net worth button, it's literally it's going to tell you your net worth, and sometimes that's actually pretty important just to kind of know. Um, it's just it's just another benefit of this tool, because to be honest, it can be it can be difficult to calculate net worth without something like this, because you're kind of manually doing it. So it just takes a lot more time, essentially. And then, of course, goals. You can set goals, and you can check your cash flow, which is just going to be um, money coming in, money going out, and kind of what the difference is there. Um, we talked about in the first presentation where we're trying to get cash flow to even. So we're trying to, money comes in, we spend it, and then we put money in savings, and we kind of try to make it zero, so that, because we're including savings in that cash flow, right? Or you can not include savings, and then you know how much to save. So $3,000 a month comes in, and you're spending, let's say, 2,500 or so, maybe 2,500. Then you have $500 a month that you can do whatever you need to do with. So that could be making slightly higher payments on credit cards, if you have savings built up already, or put it all into savings, or maybe you have different savings accounts with different goals, and you can feed those accounts however you like. So that's the nice thing about the cash flow button. And this is another screen here. This is the bubble system, and again, you can use different ones. But green means that you're within, you're well within your budget. Yellow means that you're getting close to being over budget, but you're still okay. And red is over budget. So as you set the kind of different limits, you can either start from scratch, as you can see on the right here. Let me point at it with my cursor. Or you can auto-generate, and that'll pull from your checking account data, or like usage, if you have your checking account there. So let me move on here. And you can see all of your debts in one place. And it's really nice because it has these graphs where you can kind of see over time how this is going to be paid off because of how debt is amortized, like how the term, the interest, and your payment that you're making. So let's say you have an auto loan where the payment is $300 a month, but you want to pay 350, and you want to know how that is that going to affect. Well, you can plug it into the system, and what you're going to see is 350 is $50 more than your standard auto loan payment, which means this triangle is going to shrink a lot. You're going to pay that car off much faster, even though in your head you're like $50 a month. I mean, that's not that much, but it is when it comes to stuff that's going directly to principal. Anything over your standard payment goes directly to principal. So, and it's nice for student loans as well. I have my student loans plugged in there, and yeah, it's just nice to kind of see an end date. Like, oh, when am I going to be rid of this? You know, um, which sometimes the end date's kind of far on those student loans, but what are you going to do? So your cash, past, present, and future just tells you exactly how your cash flow was at different moments in time, different times of the month, and even times of the week. You can kind of limit it and change it around. So we want to get into some of the precautions to take for your personal finances with what's going on right now. The biggest thing, and again, this is specific to the credit union, but just take whatever you see for wherever your financial institution is. So I apologize for that. Get familiar with the electronic services. If you've never been a believer in online banking, the first step would be ask your financial institution if they use two-factor authentication for logging in. If they don't sign up. Switch accounts or something. Go somewhere that uses two-factor, because it's a big difference, and it's really tough, to be honest, right now to not have access to everything I discussed in this entire presentation. It can put you a little bit behind on things, and it can force you to eat up fees. You're talking wire transfer fees. This could be a lot of money. Late fees. What are late fees these days? $10 to $50. I've seen late fees, overdraft fees that, I've seen those that are up to $50. Some are as little as 10, or like 10% of your payment, however they do it. So you definitely want to be able to avoid all of that. And so these services can help with that. And then, of course, automate payments or set up bill pay. This is only for things that aren't changing, bills that aren't changing. You want to automate those. If they are changing, if they're a utility bill, best thing to do there is to either go to your utility company's website or call them and let them know that you want to set up auto pay with them, not through like your online banking, but with them. Because then when, like, let's say your gas bill is fluctuating, right? Like fall, winter, spring, it's going to be probably a lot higher than summer. And so with autopay, the money will just come directly from your account, and it'll go to them, and it'll fluctuate with it, and it'll take out from your account depending on what the bill is that month, right? So be on the lookout for that, though, because with automatic payments on your utility company's end, they get access to your account and routing number. Unless you're using a debit card, but even then they get access to your debit card number, right? Which is fine for utilities, but definitely don't give your account and routing or your debit card number to any company that you don't necessarily trust. Maybe it's a collection agency, or maybe it's, I don't know. I'm trying to think of examples, but there's some companies where I don't really want to give my personal information, because if it comes down to maybe like a legal battle, then they have my account routing number. They can start charging from my account, um, which I've had happen as well in the past. So yeah, so just be mindful of that when you're setting up the automated payments on their end, not using your online banking system. And reducing your discretionary spending. If you can cut back on non-essential, starting to save. I'm trying to drill this down so that we we can all start saving. And to be honest, we're benefiting all of us when we save, because when a community together starts to save for a rainy day, it becomes a lot more resilient. It's a lot more of a resilient community. So we're all pretty much into this together. And I know you're hearing that a lot on television and radio, and they always say the same stuff, right? But in this case, I think it's true. I think um, it, if I can affect a couple of families to help them save more, then we're making our Flagstaff community a lot more resilient, right? And there's going to be less issues going around where we have to um, we can start to have, we can help less people essentially, so that there's more money to go around for everybody. And even though we're all individuals, it does kind of work that way where it's up to us. um, I don't think we're receiving the stimulus and things like that, but I don't think that we're going to get bailed out on the individual personal level. I think only the big companies will, right? So um, that can definitely be huge. Tax refund. I was able to put that into my emergency savings, which was a huge boost. I probably wouldn't even really have as big of an account without the tax refund, so that was good. And then aggressively paying down debt. So what this isn't talking about like your mortgage or anything like that. It's talking about if you have a credit card that, let's say you owe $200. If you can pay that down to zero today without affecting your savings that much, then that means you don't have a payment going forward. So your budget opens up and you can put more in savings, right? So in the event that you're without a paycheck for longer than you expect, you might get some relief out of it because your budget is smaller because you don't have that payment anymore. But definitely on things like auto loans or mortgages, um, just kind of pay the normal payment unless you already have your savings built up to the level that you want it, because those are not necessarily where you want to be aggressively paying down debt during a kind of a crisis mode. So, and then be on high alert for coronavirus related scams. My IT department has been great because they've seen a huge uptick of just scams, and I've been getting emails and phone calls that are specifically tuned to coronavirus to kind of lull me into thinking that it's current. This isn't an old ancient scam that's been going for 10 years, right? There's no way this could be a scam. The coronavirus is like 4 months old or whatever. So be on the lookout for that. We're never going to ask you to give us your password or pins. No one ever will. So yeah, just be on the lookout. And we've got our contacts here. These are the assistant branch, your Flagstaff assistant branch managers, the West Street branch, Noel Luna. And then, oh, sorry, okay, so this is a 6. This icon is over the phone number, but that is a 6. So, and then Cindy Jones, your new, she used to be a member service officer. Now she's the assistant branch manager. They've both got a wealth of experience, anything you might need. And Cindy is at the Woodlands Village Boulevard branch. And then our solution centers down here, the toll-free 866 is the second number here. And then we've got our main line, the 602. Either one works. So yeah, whatever you might need. Maybe you've already been with us for 90 days or longer, and you want to start depositing checks with your cell phone. You can give our Member Solution Center a call and ask them for the limit raise. Or like a lot of times the checks I receive in the mail, because my things are direct deposited, the checks I receive in the mail are kind of small. So I don't really run into that limit. I've never called to increase it. But if you don't have direct deposit and you've got these bigger checks and you've been with us for 90 days or longer, of course, call and get that limit raised. So, and then, oh yeah, sorry, the question slide. This is pre-recorded, so I can't take questions, but I made this a little bit longer. It's not as long as the other two, but um, I wanted to add things that I've been asked when I do this presentation around the state, and in Flagstaff, of course, I've been asked, and that's why I covered some more things on each slide, because I want to make sure that hopefully I get some of the questions that you might have asked answered on there. But this is the end of the presentation. So at the end of each of one of these, I want to urge you to um, take something away from this, take action. If you don't have online banking set up because you're worried about security, call and check to see if they use that two-factor authentication. If they do, then uh, to me, I mean, I feel very safe with a website using that, right? And if they don't, I actually don't feel as safe using a website that doesn't, right? So just, yeah, so take that information. If there's anything that you're not using, I urge you to just poke around, just poke around your specific online banking, try to look for the budgeting tool. If it doesn't have one, you can use Mint. Um, and I'm sure it'll have one, though. I don't think I've ever seen one that financial institution that didn't have one. But the biggest thing is we're trying to save you money, save you time, and help you with more convenient banking at both banks and credit unions. So that's the main takeaway here. So anything that you can kind of uncover that helps you from this information, whether it's maybe going to automatic bill pay from manual, or figuring out kind of how the transfer system works, or maybe you were sending sending money to family across the country, and you were paying wire transfer fees. Now you know that you can pretty much stop that immediately, right? And use the bill pay system in one of the two ways that we discussed. So I really hope that this saves you some money out there. It's definitely going to save you a lot of time. I didn't talk about ATMs too much. We all kind of know about that, but ATMs are another big one. You can deposit, you can withdraw. And if you're a shared branch member, you can still use our ATM and everything like that. So I really want to thank you for your time, though, and take care, everybody. Stay safe.